Good evening, guys. I'm stood in the engine bay, which means we still haven't got the engine fitted. Hence the title, How to Fit a Servo to your Austin Healey 104. I'm tired of making excuses myself, to be fair. We've had a busy week, but as I say, I want to keep bringing you a little bit of content each week. So I thought I'd show you our servo install, and I've also bought a pointer, which will hopefully make the videos a little bit easier to see as I'm filming them. It's Sunday, it's late, I want to get some content out, so let's get filming and crack on. Let's go and take a look. Servo torque. This point is pretty good, isn't it? Very impressive. Obviously we're running disc brakes on the front of our 104, which the car would have not had from factory. It would have been on drums all round. Now because of that, we need a servo. We've gone for a generic Eric power tune servo from eBay. I think it's about £75. It's a 1.9 to 1 boost servo, pretty standard. It'll fit most classic cars that need a servo. Now, installation wise, there's a lot of things to consider. The nose has to tilt up in the air between 25 and 45 degrees, and the air control assembly needs to be 30 degrees below the horizontal. It comes with a nose bracket down here, which will obviously put the nose, if you put it on a flat surface, it would put it at the right angle, and the bracket has got holes in it that would turn it round to put it in the perfect orientation if it's on a flat surface. But as we all know, flat surfaces don't exist on cars, they only exist on benches. So when you go over to the vehicle, it's very tricky to find a decent location for a car that was never designed for a servo. Now, sometimes you see people mount them up inside of the footwell area under there, but I thought that would get in the way of our trimming out and our carpets, and it wouldn't look very good. On certain classics, sometimes from the 60s, you'll see them up in behind the dashboard, but because the 104 has got such a small dashboard, you'd be able to see it and it would look rubbish. Now, we did toy with the idea of popping it down in this area here, but then we'd have to run hydraulic lines over to it, but it would have made the vacuum line easier to put up into the inlet manifolds up here. What we've ended up doing is mounting it on the existing bracket on the bulkhead area. Now there's a bit of an angle here, so what we've done is we've bent the bracket so that as it sits in the car, it's between the 25 and the 45, and the air valve just there sits between horizontal and 30 degrees. So it sits in the right orientation. Now, obviously it's very easy to fit a servo when you've got a bare chassis, but we put a little bit of effort into thinking about where the shroud and wings are going to sit. Now, the shroud support bracket is here, and that will sit across onto like the bulkhead area, which leaves you with this little V-shaped gap almost that you're gonna have to pull the servo out of if you ever needed to remove or refit the servo without having to take the whole front of the car apart, which would be silly. Now, to make things a little bit easier, what we've done, I'll just zoom in a little bit, there's holes in the bottom of the bracket, and we've just welded a couple of nuts on. Now, it would have been quite easy to obviously get in with a spanner and tighten them up here, but you've got to appreciate you're going to have your wing in place here, so you won't be able to get to it. So what we've done is we've welded a couple of bolts on there and then put it up inside the bulkhead. So if you were ever going to remove it and refit it, you could just reach in underneath by the pedals and then tighten it up, so you wouldn't ever have to reach around to get to the bolts themselves. The nose bracket, we've shortened it and put it over the bulkhead support, and then just taken it where underneath the loom itself. Now, we had to get a little bit creative with the vacuum pipe, because again, you don't want to clutter the look of the car. It's an original stock engine bay, 104 wise. You don't want to go running like, we kind of toyed with putting like a 15mm vacuum, like a copper pipe across here and poking it through, but it wouldn't have looked very good. So what you've got is the airbox assembly that goes through along here. Obviously you've got the like air control valve, if you will, and this fills that box up with air, and then air comes out onto your feet under there. So it's essentially just an almost unused void. So what we've done is run a bit of 10mm copper tube all the way through in this void behind here, and then put a 10mm elbow on and poked a little bit of copper through. Now what we'll do is obviously we'll adapt our inlet manifolds across to our 10mm copper, paint that black, and then you don't clutter your bulkhead and it looks almost like it should be there and as invisible as possible. And all I've done is just taken it through the bulkhead there, and then just put an O-ring, and then just taken the vacuum hose that was actually supplied with the kit and taken it through. Piping wise, you've got, obviously we've got our adapter bracket down here, and you'll have a line that will obviously come from the reservoir that will feed into the master cylinder, and it'll come out the master cylinder up. I've used more modern looking clips compared to obviously the loom clips, but you'll never ever see them over this side, so it didn't worry us too much. You'll run it up and then into the side of the servo here, and then you come out the nose of the servo along, and then the line, a bit tricky to see, shoots all the way down, and then it comes up through here, and then it comes round and pokes through and then comes into our distribution block there. So we've tried to kind of make it as hidden as possible whilst also keeping it nice and accessible. We've also welded the little quarter bolt onto the bottom of the bracket, because again, if you've got your wing and shroud in place and you're reaching over and you're undoing this one, the back of it will start to undo as well. So I've welded it to the bracket, put an eye lock on it so that when you undo it, it makes it nice and easy to remove. So to remove it, you'd undo these two nuts here, and you'd undo your bracket underneath and slide the bracket out the way. You then undo one screw, one nut, two connections, and obviously your vacuum hose, which you can access with the wing and shroud in place, and then you'd be able to pull it down and hopefully wiggle it through this little hole here. So it is removable. Like I say, we put a little bit of thought into the fitting of and removal of it. So that's pretty much what it is. I just hope it works. So there we go then, guys, a little look into our servo install. Now then, before I go, I thought I'd read out a little email that we've had from Daniel from Colford. He said, "Hi guys, enjoying the videos, keep up the good work." Thank you, Daniel, we will. "I will be upset if that engine isn't fitted by episode 5. How long can it take? How hard can it be?" Well, sorry Daniel, you're going to have to remain upset because we haven't quite got round to it, as you can see. P.S. What was that scarf you were wearing at the end of episode 3? You look like Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen. Very helpful, Daniel, very helpful. Hopefully next week. The engine crane is on its way. We're borrowing one from next door. I think we're close. The fuel pumps, the fuel tank, the fuel lines, it's all in. It's all ready to go. I know I said we're close last week, but surely we must be a little bit closer this week. Watch this space. Fingers crossed. Let's make it happen. See you soon.